want to get right into it and try to deconstruct veteran suicide and why it's such a major issue. You know, community I come from in the SEAL teams, it seems like we're way higher than the norm. And I mean, it's at this point, I feel like we're having 4 or 5 a year. It's every couple of months. We're getting the text goes out and you see black tridents on your Instagram feed. And it's like, we all kind of throw our hands up like, fuck, like, why didn't they just reach out? You know what I mean? Like they have, you know, hundreds of brothers around them that will, you know, help them at the drop of a hat. And we have the tendency to internalize the pain, right? And it's seen as a form of weakness. And I've tried to deconstruct this. And this, of course, isn't just, you know, exclusive to the special operations community. You know, the conventional units, of course, have a similar demeanor going on. But I think particularly with the special operations community, I think some of it stems from in the training. And then, you know, when you're performing on the job, there's this kind of demand on maintaining a calm demeanor despite tremendous stress. And by being able to maintain a calm demeanor in a very stressful environment, you're seen as like a good operator, right? And of course, in training, stress is purposely induced to see if you can perform under pressure, still make good decisions, still physically perform. And that's the whole point. And if they throw a major stressful, you know, event at you and you maintain your composure and you execute the plan, or you have to quickly deviate your plan, but it's a good new plan based on the new data that's available. You know, you're well respected as a high performer and someone that's reliable. And that's ingrained in your head from day one all the way through to when you're actually doing it. So I think part of it is rooted in that mentality then kind of applies to your general life, even though they're totally separate things. You know, being able to maintain your composure doing CQC when your rifle jams and you transition your pistol and you keep clearing without getting flustered in that transition, and then, you know, fixing the jam and getting back in the, like, that's like such a different thing than someone who's going through real struggle in their life and thinking that, oh, I'm not allowed to express what I'm going through now to my buddies because I'll be seen as weak. In me, I've experienced this firsthand with a friend who I won't name, of course, but those exact words were expressed to me. It's like, I didn't want you guys to think I was a pussy. That was those exact words. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me? You think we're going to think anything less of you because you're going through personal, you know, struggle to the point where you were going to put a pistol in your mouth? And you think that's the first thing I'm worried about is you looking like a, you know what? It's not even, that doesn't even register. You're not seen as weak. I actually think you're seen as strong because you have the willingness to put yourself out there and be vulnerable to your buddies. But so I think we have to figure out a way to get rid of this stigma, particularly with men, that it's weak to, express to your buddies that you're having a hard time and you need help. And man, I feel like we're doing, it seems like it's so much more, the awareness is so much higher now on guys and the resources that are available, but we're still seeing it, man. You know, we just had a suicide in the community this last week, right? And it's becoming so common. And what's wild is, like, if you actually know these guys, some of these guys are the highest performing guys. They're the one having the best time at the bar when we're out. You know what I mean? And the last people you would think that would be going through personal turmoil. And again, that gets back to what I'm talking about, because we've been trained to be very calm on the surface, and then underneath all that is a major, a completely different, situation. So,
do you think some of that is, because like the nature to do the job that you and your community, which I of course have some friends and family members that are also in that community, it takes a certain amount of ego, and I mean this in a good way, like a positive, to do that job. Do you know what I mean? It takes the same way you could say it takes a strong ego to be a rock star. Like it takes a strong ego to do that. And it feels like, do you feel like there's maybe a momentum thing where, like, yes, when things are going good, like say throughout training, and then just in general of like building that identity of a SEAL or just a high level military member, that's when the pendulum's swinging in a positive direction. But when the pendulum maybe starts to swing in a different direction, what you would consider more of a negative thing, that same ego that was riding high there is now attached to something that's a little more negative, and that can carry a lot of momentum behind it and a lot of like kind of identity crisis there as well. So are you seeing, I know you said the awareness has spread, are you seeing it getting talked about more and more within your community? Like, is this something now, even as you're going through the different kind of levels of training, and then once you're in, obviously, is it something that's being touched on more and more?
It definitely is. Yeah. And that's why like it's frustrating when you get the text from, in the word, of course, in our community, it gets out immediately. Like someone will copy and paste the text, and before you know it, it's been disseminated in 2 hours, and then you'll see it on social media after that, usually once, families have been notified. But so yes, the awareness is definitely there. It's we talk about it more, and I think guys are more, they appear to be more open to realizing it's not a weakness. Mm-hmm. Now there are a little bit of dangers in who you talk to, because of course, you can risk your career depending on certain things. And I think there's, that's an area I don't know the specifics on, like what a psych at the command would have to report.
Right.
But there's definitely, still outs that you can, I know a lot of guys will go to like therapists in town versus like the ones at work,
right?
Because then they can talk about more stuff and they just pay out of pocket. So hopefully, the military can come around on that and having more of an accommodating mental health environment, but it's definitely being pushed. And I think, we're trying to police ourselves, right. And check in on each other, and I definitely see that. Guys have checked in on me, and I know that's why they're doing it. Right. Yep. And I appreciate that. So,
and what are you seeing? Like, what seems to be, is there a thread of triggers? Meaning like what is causing, like the ones you've been close to, like what is causing, is it a professional thing? Is it a personal thing? And I'm sure it's a mix depending on the case, but what are the trends you're seeing there?
I think, I've talked about this a little bit before, and this is just my opinion. I think there's two things that you have to focus on, and it's purpose and community. And I think, and this is particularly true for those that transition out. Imagine a lifestyle where you're hanging out with, 20 to 60 dudes, 90% of the time. You're traveling all over the country, doing different training, doing a bunch of dangerous but cool, like dude stuff, right? And then you deploy with them for 6 months, and you're literally spending every other day with them other than sleeping. You're spending more time with them than your family. They're all the exact same. I mean, of course there's differences, but the same. We're all wired very similarly. So it's a bond that you'll never replicate anywhere else. Similar to maybe a sports team, but I would say a couple rungs up on that, because It's even more like tight. And then, okay, you've been living that lifestyle for, maybe on the low end 6 years and the high end 30 years. And then all of a sudden you get out, all those guys are continuing to do that. And all of a sudden you're out, right? Particularly for the guys that move away from we're in Virginia Beach. If they move out of Virginia Beach or San Diego, whatever it is, you're not around any of those guys anymore. Like, at least for me, it's been nice because I'm still around the dudes, You know what I mean? And I kind of still get the best of both worlds. But for the guys that go move to Montana or Boston or whatever, and all of a sudden they're just like a normal dude, all this, and they're not around any of their teammates, that leaves this giant void of community. You don't have that, and you became so reliant on it as part of your life. And I think that's a major adjustment. So I think that's one thing. And I think when I think it was on the Evan Hafer's podcast for Black Rifle, we talked about, go out and find new community, right? Of course, stay in touch with the boys and still maintain that, go to the reunions, do all those things, but you need to realize that whole life, you'll never have it again. So what is in this next phase of your life, what does the community look like? For me, joining a new church, I go to Ascent on Shore Drive. That's been awesome. Great people. Pastor T's awesome. You just go once, I just go on Sundays, and, you hang out with people in the lobby beforehand and drink coffee, and then you go and do the service, and, you start to get to know these people. And it's not like I'm really hanging out with all these people and stuff, but it's enough on a Sunday. I connect with like-minded people that are trying to, get the word in and hopefully live a fulfilled life. And, so we have that common interest, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't, join a beer league softball team, do whatever it is, man, find some type of community, you might need to put yourself out there. I think that was one of the good things with CrossFit is I think it does a good job of creating community with the members, right? Cause you got to go through a hard thing together, right? And over time, a lot of people, that becomes their friend group, and they're going out with the weekends with them and getting beers together and all that. So whatever that is for you, seek that out, because you're going to get lonely real quick. And I do think obviously a strong family life can totally fill a huge percentage of that. If you're a dad married with 3 kids, like you're probably, getting plenty of community. I mean, your family should be number one. But I still do think, as a man or woman, you still need to have your crew, right? And hopefully a couple different crews. You're not always just hanging with the same people. So I think community is the number one, is one of the 2 things, and purpose would be the other one.